Okay, let's go ahead and do our practice for simplifying expressions. So on number 1, you had to do the first step, which is apply the distributive property. So that's the first thing that we have to do. So negative 8 times x is negative 8x, and negative 8 times a positive 2 is negative 16. Then we're going to look at the next one. A positive 2 times a positive x. Remember, this is like a little invisible 1 in front of that x, same as this one. So positive times a positive is going to be positive, and 2 times 1 is 2x. And then the last part, 2 times a negative 1 is going to be negative because a positive times a negative, and 2. All right, now let's do the second step. We're going to combine like terms. So negative 8x plus 2x. So a negative 8 plus 2. Negative 8 plus 2, or 2 minus 8. Well, it's going to give us a negative 6x. Now let's do our digits without variables. A negative 16 and a negative 2. It's going to stay negative, and I'm going to add them together to get 18, negative 18. So you would read this as negative 6x minus 18. Let's try number 2. Remember, if you see nothing in front of it, it's like a 1, negative 1. So negative 1 times a positive x, it stays negative, and it's 1x. A negative 1 times a negative 3 changes to positive. 1 times 3 is 3. Now, I'm going to bring this one down. A positive 2 and times a positive 1x, remember it's like an invisible 1, is a positive 2x. We can't completely combine them because we don't know what x is. And then a positive 2 and a negative 7 multiplied together. A positive times a negative is a negative. 2 times 7 is 14. So now we're going to combine like terms. A negative 1x and a positive 2x. Negative 1 plus 2 gives me positive 1. So I'm just going to have a positive x. Now I'm going to do the positive 3 and the negative 14. By the way, let me just show you guys. So negative 1x plus 2x. Let's make sure everyone understands this. A negative 1 plus 2. Well, negative 1, if I had negative 1 on the number line, okay, and I did 2 hills to the right because it's positive 2, 1, 2. It would get me at a positive 1 and bring down the x. But again, remember, we don't need that 1 in front because this is just an x. And then positive 3 and a negative 14. Negative 14 plus 3, or plus 3 minus 14, and that's going to give you, it says, take the sign of the larger number, which is 14, it's negative, and you're going to subtract them. 14 minus 3 is 11, so there's our answer. Let's try number 3. Negative 2 times 3x and negative 2 times a positive 4, because remember, we're getting rid of the distributive property first. Negative 2 times 3 is a negative 6x. Remember, you've got to bring down your variable. A negative 2 times a positive 4, it's going to be negative because a negative times a positive, and 2 times 4 is 8. And then we're just going to bring down everything else to combine because those don't have parentheses. Now, the second step, which we've been doing, is combine like terms. So now we're going to combine them. I see a negative 6x and a negative 2x. Negative 6 minus 2. Keep the sign negative and add them together is 8, and bring down the variable, the x. Now negative 8 minus 5. Keep the sign negative and add them together. You get 13. So this is read as negative 8x minus 13. Once we know what x is, we can multiply those two together and then subtract 13. But since we don't know, all we can do is simplify it. All right, go ahead, do your reflection, and keep doing your practice.